Hello everybody, it's Donna here from Embrace the Moon Tarot, and I am just going to make this a very quick intro and say that I'm really sorry that I haven't been doing the Taroscopes lately, but all the feelings and the energy that has been available, I've been feeling all of them. Or at least I feel like I have been. So I've been kind of making myself a little bit of a hermit, but let's see if I can get back into the swing of these and start with February's reading. So let's begin. Hello, Taurus, and welcome to your February 2018 reading. I have already shuffled and pulled out the four corners of the reading, the core part of the reading, and this is what I'm focusing on this month. And we're focusing on mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual. And I just got an overall feeling of kind of blah whenever I was shuffling, and looking at the emotional and the spiritual, I can kind of get a sense of where that's coming from. I'm going to go ahead and start with that because it looks like their other aspects going to be much better. The Eight of Cups, I feel, is kind of more of what's leading into February. It's not so much the whole of the February as much as some of the energy that you have been experiencing emotionally throughout January is going to seep a little bit into February. And the Eight of Cups kind of speaks of that, looking at your emotional state and looking at what you need to walk away from. And it looks like in this particular depiction of the card, he's not walking away. He is still kind of mulling over spilled cups of milk or wine or whatever you want it to be within your life. And but there's just been a bit of the energy that in January of experiencing this multiple moments where things that you thought were filling ended up being spilled. So, and it's not just, it feels like it's linked to the spiritual aspect too. So some connections that you had that you felt were feeding you emotionally, it was tied into things spiritually in some facet, didn't fulfill you nearly as you had anticipated it would. The cups ended up either being more empty than they should have been, or at some point in time when you went to go get it and retrieve it, someone had tipped it over and spilled it, and you didn't get to experience it in the facet that you were hoping to, if at all. And I feel that the dilemma is why this is kind of leading into February is because you're being told don't spend too much time sitting there looking at these cups that can't serve you. There's nothing left in them. They've already been emptied. And yes, that is frustrating and annoying and can be a bit draining, but you're not meant to sit there and mull over it for too long. And it feels as though as you progress into February, you may have a tendency to lean in that direction where you want to sit down and contemplate these spilled cups in your life. And you're being told to not do that. You don't want to spend too much time going over and over and over these events in your head, because it's just going to drain you of energy that you could be using for other means in your life. And the more you focus on this and the more it drains you, the more you're going to have a tendency to be kind of pulling yourself down spiritually as a result of it. So the more you tap into remembering and kind of feeding your heart this ache, the more it's going to have your soul aching as well. And you want to try to break that cycle. And it's not saying you can't remember how things had transpired and how it may have been painful and crushing, but you're just not supposed to focus on it to the point where it is actually making you hurt so much that you're hurting emotionally and spiritually. So you're being warned to, yes, honor the fact that these events have occurred, and you can take note in the fact that it was a shitty thing, but you're also being told don't spend all of your time and energy doing this. Spend time nurturing your heart and helping to heal the emotional and walk away from these events and take with you all that belongs to you in the process, and go to where you know you can get the mending that you need emotionally, because if you don't, it's going to impact you spiritually. And that is evident here in the Seven of Pentacles. And here, spiritually, it's just kind of speaking about how you've come to a point, and I feel that they're kind of feeding off of each other, as I already stated. You just come to a point where your spiritual garden isn't flourishing as it should. And yes, it may feel like it's barren, but the truth is all it needs is just a little sprucing up. All you need to do is give some tender loving care to the things that are growing, the things that are already planted, pull out the weeds that need to be pulled out, water it, give it some sunlight. That's what you need to be doing. And because these two are so keenly tied to each other, that's one of the reasons why you're being asked to get up and stop feeding your heart this ache, but to go somewhere where you can mend it and help to heal it. And in the process, you can help to tend to the garden of your spirituality and hopefully get that going in the right direction. And once you feed both of these the love and light that they need, they'll feed each other. The heart will not ache quite as painfully. You'll be able to heal and nurture it, and as a result of it, you'll be able to start seeing the light within yourself spiritually begin to shine more and more. Physically, I feel like there are aspects of your physical world. This isn't the entirety of your physical world. When I say physical world, I usually connect it in this regard to what makes up your personal life. So family, friends, career, or church community. There are aspects of it that are maybe not quite as stable as you would like all of it to be, but I feel that there are components of it that are solid enough. And so when you've been going through these emotionally draining and spiritually draining aspects, you have been trying to focus on how, all right, yeah, but this part of my life is solid, and I'm going to focus on this, and I'm going to put energy in this. And you're supposed to continue that because it is something that's going to help to lift you. It is a way for you to be able to remind yourself how solid of a person you are, and how to build that self-confidence within you that you have been that you feel like you're slowly losing, or maybe you haven't realized that you're losing, but you are slowly losing because you've been focused too much on that heartache that you've been experiencing. So it's one of those things where you can divert your attention. If you've realized that you have spent so long sitting and staring at the cups that have spilled that you started to feel numb, that focus that you have been turning, you're continue to turn in February, focusing on those things that are already solid in your life, the things that already kind of uplift you, and the things that you can kind of work from and kind of gain. You can feed your energy so that it can spread through the other avenues of your life. So those things that are already very solid and that you take security in, turn to those, if for no other reason than to get up so that you're no longer numb. And then just keep one step at a time, moving forward, allowing yourself to be lifted, at one moment at a time. I mean, it's not going to happen overnight for the most part, but it's one of those things where just these little moments, one moment at a time, you focus on it, and you'll just continue to feed and grow until eventually you'll start getting that sunlight to spread over into the spiritual aspect, and you'll be able to get up and walk away permanently from this heartache that that's been feeding your heart. Mentally, we have Queen of Pentacles, and again, this is going back to what I've already stated about focusing on that which you've already been, you already know is secure in your life, within the physical realm of your life, feeding that energy, getting up when you're starting to feel numb so that you can go where you know you can move energy as a result of that. And you're being told throughout the month of February that mentally this is important too. So it's not just physically being present in those moments and in those criteria of your life and feeding it energy by doing, but also at the same time, mentally, you're supposed to be nurturing these same thought processes. You're supposed to still focus on that which makes you feel grounded, what makes you feel solid, and nurture that aspect of yourself. And it's not necessarily career oriented. Some of you, it is linked to career, but it's just the general concept of feeding what it takes to nurture the water, the food, tending to, weeding, allowing sunlight to come whenever sunlight can come, pulling out what no longer needs to be pulled out, and lovingly rebury things that need to be reburied, and watering it as you need to water it, and giving it whatever it needs, the soil needs for things to grow. You're supposed to be mothering that aspect of yourself so that you can grow into feeling more solid, more self-confident, and again, be able to walk away from this position of feeling numb and but remaining and continually feeling the need to rethink and review these moments where you felt like something had been taken and spilled that you can't ever retrieve back. So nurturing that aspect of you, again, the self-confidence, feeling solid and grounded. So I'm going to go ahead and pull another card that kind of brings it all together for you, and hopefully you can kind of take it with you as you move through the rest of the month. And this card fell out, and I feel that it is what you were supposed to be getting, thriving. And thriving brings to mind that idea of just going beyond just existing. Doing what it takes to feed the joy that helps you to feel like you're not just going through the emotions. So in the beginning, you might feel like you are, unless you can tap into that aspect that you know really solidly grounds you and feeds your confidence. And then you can be able to see how you're not just surviving, you're actually thriving. And the more you feed that thriving, the more the thriving can grow and blossom and bloom and feed the emotional and spiritual aspect of yourself so that you can feel more grounded. But on top of that, this card also popped up, and it is the heart chakra. So it just kind of pulls into that concept of how, again, your heart is aching and it is feeding the spiritual. They're kind of feeding each other. When you sit and feel that focus, again, get up, find the ways that you're doing more than just surviving and you're thriving. And in those processes, in those moments, find ways that you can be nurturing and healing your heart, so that you can mend, as I said in the earlier part of the video, you can mend this ache and mend the pain that has been caused, and mend the wound that has taken place, and by that mend your spiritual grounding, and again, just flourishing, helping the spiritual tend to that garden, help it to flourish again, nurturing and helping it to grow into this better, bigger part of yourself that you already know exists. But yeah, thriving, finding those moments where you know you do more than survive, you actually thrive, and get into those, settle into those, allow them to feed and nurture you. And then as a result of that, allow it to help to mend that heart and help to bring it back to a more loving position of yourself to yourself. Okay. All right, that is all I have for you, Taurus. I hope the message is beautiful and loving and giving. I hope you manage to find moments to thrive and mend your heart through February, and hopefully I will see you in the next month.